Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to create your 5-number summary and box plot. So there's some calculator skills that we need to review. So I'm going to use the example 2 from 3.3 chapter. It's in the review section. So you actually have this example, so if you want to go back and work it, and then you can check your answers with the answers on the video. Okay, so here's the situation. 1998, this is the data of capacity of reservoirs in Utah. Okay, so here's our data. The first step is we need to get that data into our calculator. All right, so in the calculator, hopefully you recall, to put data in the calculator, it goes in a list. To get to those lists, it's stat edit. So your lists look like this. So then you just want to put the data into the calculator. Type in a number, hit enter. Type in a number, hit enter. So you enter all the data into the calculator. Okay, so I have all the data into my calculator. It is extremely important that you get the data into your calculator correctly. If it's not in the calculator correctly, everything you do from here on will be wrong. Okay, so the data is in the calculator. So question 2A says find the 5-number summary for the data set. Okay, so the 5-number summary is first the minimum. Then we have what's called Q1. Then you have the median. Then you have what's called Q3, quartile 3, and then you have the maximum. Okay, those are our numbers for our 5-number summary. So I'm going to get those numbers from the calculator. So on the calculator, once you have your data into the calculator, hit stat, calc, and then we want this first one, says 1var stats. Hit enter. Make sure the list is where you put your data. I put my list in L1. You can leave frequency list blank and then calculate. Okay, so you get a lot of stuff, and we're going to use this several times throughout the year. So we'll talk about what the rest of this stuff is. So here's the mean. Okay, and the rest of this on here I'm going to ignore for the moment, and I'm going to scroll down. That down arrow tells me there's more. So here I have my minimum, Q1, the median, Q3, and the maximum. So I have my 5-number summary. Okay, so my minimum is 0. Q1 was 72. The median was 82. Q3 is 89, and my maximum is 105. 5-number summary can tell us a lot about a data set. All right. Okay, the next question says show all work to determine if there are true outliers according to the it says 1:5, but it should be 1.5 IQR rule. Okay, 1.5 IQR. So the first step in calculating outliers is first find the IQR. All right, the IQR, this stands for interquartile range, and the IQR is Q3 minus Q1. Okay, so Q3 is 89, Q1 is 72, so we do 89 minus 72 gives me 17. Okay, so my IQR is 17. Then I'm going to take 1.5 times the IQR. So 1.5 times 17 will give me 25.5. All right. Now I use that number, and I talk about it as a boundary, as a lower boundary and an upper boundary. All right. So we're going to go that far from Q1 and from Q3. So for my lower boundary, I'm going to take Q1, which was 72, and I'm going to subtract that 25.5. Okay, so 72 minus 25.5 gives me 46.5. Okay, so that is my lower boundary. Now I'm going to create an upper boundary. So I'm going to take Q3, which is 89, and I'm going to add that 25.5. And that gives me 114.5. So my upper boundary is 114.5, and my lower boundary is 46.5. All right? So any values that lie outside these boundaries are statistically considered outliers. All right? So my largest number in the data set is 105, and that is smaller than my 114.5. So that is not an outlier. It's inside the boundary. However, on the low end, I've got 0, I've got 4, and then there's also 46. It's really close, but technically it is an outlier. So 0, 4, and 46 are all outliers. Okay. All right, the next step is to create a box and whisker plot showing any outliers. All right, so with an outlier, the box and whisker plot is a little bit different, or just a box plot is a little different than how we've done it in the past. All right, so when you're creating a box plot, especially by hand, and you can do this in your calculator, I'll show you here in a second, but first thing is we need a number line. Okay, we need a number line. All right, and I'm going to start mine at 0, and I'm going to go to 110, and I'm just going to go by 10. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110. And it's easier to graph if you have these labeled. Remember, the object is to give us a picture of our data, and that's what we're doing. Okay, that's what we're doing. So I do have some outliers, and those are not included in the box plot. So 0 is an outlier, 4 is an outlier, 46 is an outlier. Okay, so instead of 0 being my minimum, then the next smallest value that is in the data set then becomes my minimum value. Okay, so you can pick this out on your calculator. You can sort that list. So I'm going to sort list 1 from least to greatest. And that just helps me, it says done, it means it did it. It just helps me to look at my data from least to greatest. So here are my 3 outliers on the low end, so the next number is 63. So that becomes my minimum on my box plot. So 63 is somewhere here. Okay, then I go into my 72 is my Q1 value. My median is 82. 89 is my Q3 value, and 105 is my maximum. So this is my whiskers part, and then the box plot is around the IQR. So that is a very accurate box plot, just graphed by hand. Okay, and we're going to describe what it can show us here in a second, but I do want to show you on the calculator how to create that on your calculator. So if I wanted to create a box plot on my calculator, I hit second y equals. I want to turn that plot on, and mine's already on. So for mine, I need to select this box plot. It has the dots, means there's outliers, so highlight it, hit enter. Okay, X list is L1. I don't have a frequency list, so I'm going to leave that blank. And then I want my window to be perfect, so I'm going to hit zoom 9. And it gives me invalid dimension. Okay, frequency it needs to be 1, not blank. So leave it. So make sure your plot looks like this. L1's my X list, frequency is 1. You probably don't have a color, and then I do want the box plot that has the dots showing outliers. So once you have that set, then hit zoom 9, which is zoom stat, and it gives us the box plot. And it looks very similar to the one I did by hand. And you can check it, and I can trace it. Okay, there's the minimum value that is inside the data. There's an outlier, there's an outlier, there's an outlier. There's Q1, there's my median, there's Q3, and then there is my maximum value. So it's a nice thing to be able to do if we want to just look at our box plot on the calculator quickly. Okay, all right, so let's go back to the example. Okay, my next question says describe the shape, center, and spread of the distribution. Okay, all right, so we just want to look at it. So you can see that most of the values are on the right side. Okay, most of the values are on the right side. So we could say it is slightly left skewed. Okay, it's slightly left skewed. All right, and that's kind of the shape. All right, the center. All right, so my median is at 82, so that's the center. All right, and then the spread is kind of related to the skew. Okay, it's kind of related to the skew. Now, I want to look at that center for a moment. Okay, the next question says, based on your answer in part D, how would you expect the mean to compare to the median? Okay, if it is less left skewed, then the mean should be left of the median. Okay, I'm going to write that in. Now let's verify that. So I know what my median is. My median is 82. And I want to go back to my calculator, and it did the mean for me. If I do stat calc 1var stats real quick again, it gives me the mean of 75.4. And that verifies what should be true. The mean should be left of the median if it's left skewed. Remember, if it's symmetrical, the mean and the median should be in the middle. Okay, so I hope this helped. If you have questions, please ask. You can't do these skills, 5-number summary, box plot, can't do these skills enough. See you guys soon.